that's you. That's so weird, though.
Yeah,
The shirt
there's a camera.
but the shirt looks different. It's a different color almost.
Yeah.
It's like, who is
Yeah,
that
where's
man?
the camera? Oh, there it is.
I was wondering how this is
You know.
Silver 7.
Well, because the goal is to begin the process,
Okay.
create the timeline, which we've done, and
So
begin the
on
process.
October 7th, there'll be 100%.
We'll hopefully have proposals by October 7th. If we don't have proposals, I'm not sure. We'll have to go back out and.
We have to go back out and do something because of the date.
I think it'll be okay. I'll reach out to the group that I sent it to and make sure they know about the date. But usually those kind of submissions don't come until the 11th hour, in my experience. So.
Oh, okay.
And I know there was a few folks that were interested in the project, so I'm hoping they'll bid on it.
Which project is that?
The planning process, the one that you were emailing me about the master plan.
For the rec center?
Not for the rec center, but for the overarching park and rec district, all of the properties.
All right, are we ready to call this meeting to order?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Am I supposed to do that?
No, Celeste's gonna run the
Okay,
meeting. She's the vice
it's like
president.
that thing is sitting over
I
there,
know.
not
Yeah,
in front of me.
We couldn't give it to her virtually.
Oh, sorry. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's first start by seeing if any board members have a potential conflict of interest to declare. Mike, we'll start with you.
Recording in progress.
I don't believe I have any conflicts.
Sue?
None.
I have no conflicts of interest. Skylar, item 4 says call to order again, but that we don't, is that just a typo
Yeah,
on our agenda?
It looks like that made it in there twice for some reason. Sorry about that, but you're good to proceed with public comment.
Okay, let's open for public comment. I don't see anybody in Zoom, but do we have somebody in the room here?
Yeah, we
who'd like
have-
to make public comment?
We have 2 people, so John is gonna go first.
Okay.
John, whenever you're ready.
Do you want me to come up or sit there or?
Totally up to you. Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
I think she can hear you fine from there, but if you want to stand, you can do that.
That's fine, I'm glad to sit. I'm here because of the hot tub. As the pool has been out of service for literally months.
Since May.
And I don't find any excuse to justify it. Now, why is that? Well, those of us that used the hot tub knew that there were problems going back to August, September of last year. We used to have to go and get Lindsay to come and reset the breaker. And I could see Lindsay was getting frustrated with it and tired of having to do it. And I said, in October of last year, and Lindsay recalls this because I talked to her about it recently, I said, why don't you just order Levi to get the thing fixed properly? She said she couldn't do that because Levi outranked her. So Levi's been aware that there's a problem with the hot tub bubble system since at least September of last year. He chose to do nothing about it. I've got to ask, just a rhetorical question. If you had a problem with a major appliance, like, let's say your furnace that was flipping off the circuit breaker frequently, what would you do? Just let it go until it completely broke, or would you call a repairman and get the thing taken care of? Now, when the bubble system did fail completely, Levi told us that it would take a month to get an electrician. Really? A month to get an electrician? They're readily available here. I've never heard of such a thing. I think the real problem is Levi. He seems to believe that if one vendor can't provide a product or service within a reasonable time frame, no one can. Based on my interaction with him, I don't believe he really cares about keeping the equipment that the taxpayers provided for us up and running. Why should he? He gets paid the same whether the equipment is running or not. It seems to me that Levi needs some close supervision to monitor his efforts and where he spends his time. Skylar, you know for a fact that the last major shutdown of the warm water pool could have been avoided if only Levi had done his job and worked to find the parts needed. They were available. Why is it that Levi waits for a complete system failure before initiating any action to get it done? People of Seaside, the taxpayers, deserve better service from a maintenance man who is very well paid to do his job. It's also clear to me that things are not going to get better until Skylar insists that he improve his job performance. He's not going to do it on its own. I believe much of the shutdown of the hot tub could have been prevented if you had a facility manager that outranked your maintenance manager. Lindsay could have ordered that it be properly fixed last September. You set Lindsay up for failure when you gave her responsibility for the pool without the authority to get the job done. I think that people of Seaside deserve a pool manager that can manage the facility with the authority to get the job done. Lindsay could have done
Thank
it,
you, Mark.
but
Oh,
you didn't give her the
or can I
authority.
ask you to wrap up before we've exceeded our 3 minutes? I'm sorry, I thought you had wrapped up.
I just finished a sentence that you walked all over.
Can I hear it again, please? The last sentence.
Yes. I said the people of Seaside deserve a pool manager that can manage the facility with the authority to get the job done. Lindsay could have done it, but Skylar didn't give her the authority. So with that, I've said my piece. And I have copies of this. And extra copies for the board members who couldn't be here.
Thank you. I'll provide that to them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And did I hear that we had
Yes. it's me.
another public comment? Okay, great, thank you. Sorry, it's a little tough because I can't see you all as you're talking,
Okay.
so apologies.
Anyway, I'm also here to speak about the hot tub. They just have been out literally for a year. The hot tub itself was operating until May, when all of a sudden it was shut down. I was in communication with Skylar at the time. He said the parts had come in, it operated for several days, but then it broke down again. That never happened. I asked the maintenance fellow and lifeguards, and the parts never came in, and the repair was never done. Then I was told that the parts are on order, but they're not going to be here till September. But then when the parts did come in, they used those parts for the warm water pool, because that was also breaking down, and they could use the parts for the hot tub for the warm water pool. I'm not a mechanic. I don't understand how that could be, but in any event. One of my concerns, too, is that we're going to be shut down for 2 weeks in October, November, actually, and arrangements have not been made with Astoria Pool for us to swim. Now, I see that the passes are going to be extended for 2 weeks, and that's great, but my pass goes for a year. I'm on Medicare, and the pool gets my money regardless of whether or not I'm here. And I bet you that's the same for at least 30 to 50 other patrons in the district. What's happening with that money? Is it going to pay more consultants for more stuff at a recreation center that we did not want? Mike Hinton, you yourself said back at a meeting in 18, this is too important for the board members to make a decision about. It needs to go to the people. And it did go to the people, and we voted it down. And before it could even be voted down, Skylar saw it necessary to spend $70,000 on plans that were garbage. They were never used because at that time it was voted down to Oxus Architects out of Portland. Now, we just spent $63,000 to the sports facility advisory and Scott Edwards Architects. Are those businesses local? Are they? Or do we keep spending money elsewhere? I mean, it's kind of, a kick in the pants that we're not keeping that money local, and we're going to Portland and whoever knows where else we're going for these specialists. It seems like more and more is going toward what Skylar wants. You wanted the rec center. We said no. You found the board to do that, and the board said okay. You got rid of the members that said no, and you picked members that said yes. We said no. We're saying no still. And I have nothing to show for it. I'm going to be paying another $63,000 to $70,000 for more consultants. I can't swim for 2 weeks, even though I'm paying for it.
Thank you, Marty.
I don't think there's anybody else for public comment, Celeste.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to the folks that provided public comment. It certainly gives us board members some visibility to your concerns. So thanks for bringing that to our attention for consideration. So moving on, we will be recognizing the Employee of the Month. Do we have the Employee of the Month there, Skylar?
He is not here. The Employee of the Month has gone to college at Oregon State University. However, his mother is here.
Who's
And
that?
Oh, good.
she might, are you gonna phone him, or do you wanna do that?
Oh, no, I was just gonna, film the reading.
Oh, yeah, she's gonna film, the reading and send it to him, and we'll get him his gift card soon, next time,
Very good, all right.
needs to do
So
laundry.
shall I go ahead and give our congratulations then?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, congratulations to Elliot Oogley. According to Lindsay Wolf, Elliot is an amazing lifeguard. He comes to work and dedicates himself. He assists us in keeping our patrons safe and our facility clean. Elliot has helped out with the maintenance staff and with events for Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District, like the Fall Fun Fest, Community Egg Hunt, and Chalk Art Contest. Elliot will be heading to Oregon State University to study electrical engineering soon. We are so proud of him and wish him the best of luck. Although we will miss him, he will be back to visit us. Thank you for all you do for the district, Elliot.
Thanks, Elliot.
Can I give him a shout out?
Oh.
He knows me. I usually call him L. I say, yo, L. And he says, hello, Marty. Good luck with school, honey. Yo, L. Thank you.
Thanks.
He's a lovely kid. I'm sure you're very proud of him.
Our next agenda item is to approve our board minutes from August. Anybody have any feedback around the board minutes for August?
I've read the minutes and, they seem to be in order. From my point of view, I move that we accept the minutes for August 23rd.
And I second.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Sue. We'll vote really quick. Mike, how would you like to vote?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
I'm an aye. The minutes from August of 2022 are approved. Next agenda item is to review our financials for August. Skylar, anything to tell us on these? Anything for us to consider?
No, not necessarily. I think everything looks to be in order. One thing I would draw your attention to, and Finance Manager Chris and I talked about this earlier, you might notice under expenses, under the youth center, under materials, supplies, and services, the line towards the bottom, you'll see a pretty good chunk of our annual budget, 66% has already been used. However, that's a result of us receiving several large grants for the infant toddler child care program. Not budgeting for those, at the time of budget, we didn't know that we would be receiving those grants, and then us already using some of those funds to make the purchases necessary to outfit the room and those types of things, buy the equipment and other stuff needed to start that program. So you'll see, I think all the other percentages are near where they should be for this time of year, maybe a little more or a little bit less, but that one stood out as being substantially higher than it probably should be, but that's just, like I said, a result of the grant cycle and the budget process, the timing of those.
So can I ask, Skylar, just as from a bookkeeping standpoint, that actually this might be something I want to have a separate meeting, come in and better understand from the finance manager. How do we distinguish between something being coded or classified as a community center versus a youth program expense, like a programmatic expense versus a facilities expense?
Yeah, I think we try to just be intentional and honest about the purpose of the grant as we went out for it. So these grants Melissa went out for with the designated purpose of expanding youth programs and providing this infant under youth center materials, supplies, and services. That was the appropriate location for it. Other grants we may, slot somewhere else in the budget, just depending on what the purpose of the grant was. If we did get a large chunk of money that was for whatever we wanted, then I guess we would make that decision based on that. But most of the grants, I think,
Yeah.
probably we have to have sort of a, you know how it works, a honed in need for the reason why we're applying, and then they grant us based on that reason.
Okay.
Chris,
Great, thank you.
anything to add? Does that sound right to you? We have
Yeah,
lots of experts here in the room.
in general, we'll usually ask for, each manager to provide an invoice specifically. And I know Darren and I this budget season actually sat down with each manager to kind of figure out what their needs were and how much they would be looking at spending. So that way we kind of already from the start knew where everything was going to be going, instead of just kind of making up our own numbers, just the two of us. It's like we have all the people available. Let's try to hone in on exactly what they're going to need. I mean, like you said before, we can't plan every single thing to a perfect T, but we can do the best we can by involving everyone in that process.
Grant opportunities tend to come along, and we sort of happen into those opportunities as they come along. So some of these were things that were completely unanticipated, but opportunities that for a funding stream that presented themselves after the budget had been put together. A couple of them were a pretty short turnaround time too, between the time that we submitted those and received those funds. But generally, those funds are going to go into the account as a revenue if that's the line that you're going to expense those out of. So if the intention in these grants was for youth programs, is more specifically for the infant toddler care, then yeah, if they're going to be expensed out of that revenue GL line, then they'll come into that as a revenue. We'll take it out of the expense line for that program.
That's helpful to understand. So that makes sense. And I'm wondering, just because sometimes cumulatively it's hard to keep track of, a budget's a blueprint of what you anticipate to happen. Things vary, as we've all found out during this COVID period, and sometimes you have extra things that come in, like a grant, for instance. Is there a way that we're sort of keeping track of these cumulatively, so when we get to the end of the year, you maybe have to do a supplemental and have to reflect back on the history? Are we simply relying on sort of memory, or is there a way that we're kind of capturing these events?
So we've got a working grant spreadsheet with every grant that we've gotten for the fiscal year and years before, just in case with the audit. And then everything that gets coded in Encode has a description to it, and we're pretty good about marking which vendors are for what, and so we can always go back and kind of look at what expenses really went to which area.
Great. Okay, thank you.
That's probably something that in the past we haven't maybe done as great of a job with, but we weren't receiving as many grants as we have over the last couple of years. So Melissa and Chris and Darren and others have worked together to kind of improve our reporting system or our tools on the back end, looking at where we actually spend the money, because there's just a bigger pot there that we want to make sure we handled appropriately.
Yep. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Would anybody like to enter a motion to approve the?
I had a couple of questions.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Appreciate the discussion on the revenue and expense report. Looking at the check register, I was curious about Versara portable products, what that was for, and I assume that the discount school supplies, when we spend a bunch of money, is that for the infant care?
Yep, so,
Preschool?
both of those companies were for infant care. I'm with you on that one, the portable products, those are the room dividers for the actual room. And then the discount school supply is everything else that the toddler infant room needed.
Thank you.
Yep.
With that, I would make a motion to approve the financial report for this month, revenue, expense, and check register.
I would second.
All those in favor say aye. Mike?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Aye. You get me? The audio is not very good, Ryan.
Apologies.
Hey, Celeste,
Hmm?
1 second. You had a couple of folks hop on, and I wasn't watching the meeting room, so I want to make sure. I know Brandon Dole is here from SEA. I don't think he's here to offer public comment. Will we have some time for him later? RJ's here. I'm guessing he doesn't need to offer public comment, but we also have Kathy, and I just wanted to make sure she wasn't wanting to offer public comment. Kathy, are you there?
No, I just saw, yes, I am. I just saw the SDAO item on your agenda, so I was joining in case there was any questions about that.
Okay, great. Thank you for being here. We're good to proceed then. Celeste, thanks.
All right, so the financials were approved by the board, the August financials were approved by the board. Looks like we are moving on to a staff presentation by Erin, our youth programs manager.
That's correct. So I'm going to share our screen here. Erin has a presentation. And Erin, how's that look? Are we did good, right?
Yeah, you might have to be my clicker.
Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, my mouse is a little funky, so let me see if I can move this out of the way. Okay. You tell me
What you can do is just, you'll just click that.
with that little.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving me the time to be here tonight. I think it's been about a year since I presented, and I was a little green about a year ago with the district, and just feel like I've really, I feel at home, and have just been working really hard with our team to improve our programs and, to grow. My presentation tonight starts with the foundation, and I chose this quote, there's an immense power when a group of people with similar interests get together to work towards the same goals. And that foundation that I feel like this is speaking to is our core team in youth programs. When I was here about a year ago presenting, one of the things that we talked about was the struggle of finding quality staff, getting people in the door, getting people to be here for interviews, to answer phone calls, and I feel like for whatever reason things have changed in our favor, and we have just a phenomenal youth programs team to support our programming. So let's click the next, so we can meet the dream team. So, and we're actually missing, we have 3 additional staff that have been onboarding with us this week that are not included in this slide, but I wanted to just share some great photos of our staff that have been working really hard. You can see our preschool staff on the left-hand side and our after-school program staff on the right-hand side. All have just been incredibly instrumental in our programs and just, supporting our kiddos. So just a big shout out to them. I actually joked about earlier, a couple weeks ago, about bringing everybody in so you guys could get to meet them and talk with them, but maybe for next time. So, but this is the next best thing, so. One of my big focuses over the past year has really been growing our team. That not only is that meaning growing in numbers, but also growing in kind of work culture and their community at work, making sure that they're feeling prepared and supported and also recognized. And so some of the things that we've been really focusing on, we do quite a bit of team building with our staff meetings. We've created a wellness wall, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. It's a spot, central location in our building where we can connect, where we can recognize each other. It's silly things too, fun facts of the week, words of encouragement, and it's just been giving us an opportunity to connect even when we don't get to see each other every day. Last spring, we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week, and we just kind of changed that to Youth Program Staff Appreciation Week, and we got to spoil them a little bit, but I think the biggest thing that really hit home with our staff was parents and kiddos being able to share messages and thanks and gratitude for all the hard work that they do. A big component then of staff and our team is training and making sure that they feel prepared. And we have created a great partnership with Early Intervention. They provided 3 really beneficial trainings for our staff. Those were in-person trainings, but they took it a step further and actually videotaped those trainings so that now we can create or include that in our onboarding process. So as we bring new staff on, they get to watch these videos and to learn a little bit from Early Intervention. So we're thankful to have that partnership and to have them in our building. We've also been working with the school district, specifically up with Pacific Ridge kindergarten staff to try and help our preschool teachers make sure that they're doing everything that they can to make sure our preschoolers are kindergarten ready, because that's a big responsibility that we take on. So we've been working with them a little bit, and we got a little message from one of our previous parents that is now working up at the school, and she said that teachers have been talking about how well prepared and how far above our district kiddos are than a lot of the other kindergartners that came in this fall. So it's a huge testament to the work that our staff have done. So I'm just really, really proud of them. And lastly, just increasing our quality of preparation. So like I said, we're increasing kind of the breadth of our onboarding experience. We're including shadowing with all of our different areas of programming just to make sure that all of our staff are really kind of have a full picture of what we do every day. And here's just a few of the numbers, just kind of some comparisons of the 2021 and 22 school year. We served 25 preschoolers and 30 kiddos in our after-school program. 2022-23, this year, we're serving 25 preschoolers again, and we've bumped up our number in the after-school program to 35. We will probably be enrolling a few more preschoolers here in the next month or so, but as we're bringing on this new program of infant and toddler care, I also am very much want to make sure that we're sustainable in our current programming too and not growing too much. So we can take a peek real quick at summer programs. So in this, and I apologize, I have to get a little bit closer. We included a comparison of 2019, 2021, and 2022. We kind of kept the 2020 out of there just because COVID is just one of those years that you can't really compare with anything else. But although our structure of programming was a little different in how we grouped our kiddos together, I guess my big thing is just that we do have good solid growth. And so our total attendance in 2022 was 2,500 kiddos. So just some good things and moving in the right direction. That was the work, and this is the fun. Yeah, we have a pretty awesome job. So here are some of the highlights from the 2021-22 school year. Our preschool program, aside from just their everyday routines and readiness, getting ready for school, we put on a holiday family night. We celebrated Macy's Week of the Young Child. And probably the biggest highlight of our preschool year last year was our graduation and end of the year celebration. So all of our pre-K kiddos graduated. They had caps and gowns, and it was adorable. And then our preschool kiddos that were transitioning up to the older classroom got to be celebrated as well. So it was really a wonderful celebration. I think we had close to maybe 75 to 100 families there to support us and to support those kids. So we're excited to be able to do that again this spring. Also, just with the after-school zone, one thing that we really focused on was mindfulness and giving these kiddos choice. One of the things that we really noticed with COVID is these kiddos are coming off the bus anxious and agitated, and just emotions are really high, lots of big feelings. And so one of the things that Ms. Zoe focused on this last year was just giving them a place to relax, to take a breath, and to have a little choice in what they get to do. And so it was an awesome year. You can see because they had the blast. And our summer highlights. I wish that I could add more pictures, but some of the fun things that we got to do, we had quite a few field trips this summer or special visitors here. We had a visit from the fire department, a walking trip to the aquarium. We took the kiddos to the movie theater to watch the Lego movie. We also had a special visitor from the Rice Museum of Rocks and Minerals come. It was interesting, but some of the kiddos, you have to really love rocks and minerals to get into it, but it was still fun. I think one of the highlights too was the trip to the Coast Guard Air Station. We also had a juggler and entertainer come, ice cream truck, and to end out the summer we had two inflatables. We had a bounce house with a water slide and an obstacle course, and yeah, it was our main focus this summer was fun, and this is just a snippet of what we got to do, but some of the highlights. And so some of the support that we've received, and I have thank you on the left-hand side of the page, and that is a huge thank you to Melissa, just for all of her hard work in grant writing and helping us to sustain funds for so many different things. The biggest grant for the summer, the Oregon Community Summer Grant, was well spent with field trips, staffing, training, and scholarships. A majority of the rest that you see on the screen goes towards our infant and toddler care program that we're getting up and off the ground. It costs about $20,000 to $25,000 to actually get that room equipped, and then the rest is going to be going towards supporting that program. Down at the bottom, so we were able to secure an additional $5,000 to go towards additional sensory paths in our building. I think last time I was here, I talked a little bit about our plans for that, and you can see some pictures of that coming to fruition in our building, and they have been functioning and working just as we had hoped. And our plan is to continue that throughout the building, from the cafeteria all the way down to the gyms, but to kind of create a more community focus as far as the images, maybe more sports focus versus preschool focus. So we're really excited to move forward with that. And lastly, I think kind of just the hot ticket item, or the thing, the thing that I'm most excited about is just our infant and toddler care program that we are so close to opening. Our staffing, we are extremely close to being able to fully staff both of those rooms, and have already started the onboarding and training process. The rooms are really close to being set up as well. We are waiting for a few big pieces of furniture still to come in. And family enrollment is definitely not going to be an issue. We have a wait list of at least 25 families, if not more. So we'll be reaching out to the families as we secure spots. But we're very excited to get this moving, and I feel really good about where we're at and where we're going. So thank you.
You can stay up here for a second. Thank you. Sue or Celeste, Mike, do you have any questions for Erin?
How many infants are we going to be able to take?
So we will start with 4 infants and 5 toddlers.
That's now, these are, so one of the programs, and when my kids were little, we had a program that if they were ill, we could take them there. So I presume this is all well care, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be run very similar to our programs now, but if we have kiddos that are not feeling well, that they would not be in here, but, yeah.
I'm sorry you didn't hear my comments. I had muted my microphone. Yeah. Thank you so much, Aaron, for all your hard work and continued good luck this coming year.
Thank you.
Yeah, Aaron, I'll piggyback on Mike and say just fantastic job. I think the growth is exciting. I think the potential is even more exciting about what's to come. And I was really pleased to hear about the collaboration with ESC and the school district. I think that's fantastic that we're looking at those community partnerships, and that strengthens everyone's work with kids.
And Aaron, just what a feather in our cap that in this last year you have done what you've done. And just thank you.
Thank you. I feel very fortunate to be here doing this work, and yeah, I'm really excited to see where we go. So.
Thank you.
Aaron, I do have one question. When it comes to, I recognize that having people be interested is not really a problem, and so I'm curious about sort of what kind of process there is to prioritize folks, or is it a first come first serve basis for people that are signing up? What does that look like? And I'm also curious if we've given consideration to sort of levels of need in our community.
Right now, it's essentially been a wait list that we've been collecting, and so with that, it is a first come first served basis, and that's kind of the way that we will be offering up spots. I don't think we've really, I know, back in COVID days, they would obviously prioritize based on, what was the term, essential workers, or I think at this point, there's a need regardless, and so I think our plan is just to follow first come, first served based on that list that we have. Some of the families on that list are already existing families within our program, some are not, and I think at that point, everybody on that list is, I would say, an essential part of our community. So regardless, I know that there's a need for them. So we're going to do our best to support whoever we can. So.
Great, thank you for that. And as you look at expanding community partnerships, I know you all are busy onboarding staff and doing so forth, but I would encourage you to connect with child welfare and to see if there is a way to support need there where child care in some cases can help families make it, and so would encourage you to take a look at that.
Absolutely.
And this is a follow-up, and this may be for Skylar, actually. Are the pricing structures for our child care services currently, did we address that in district and out of district? I can't recall when we visited fee structures.
Yeah, there's a out of district rate that's substantially higher than the in-district, and we kind of adhere to the same percentage difference that we have for other programs, but it ends up being a lot more just because the program cost is more.
Right.
And
and where are people coming from? So is it mostly in-district folks that are coming, or?
I think based on the list that I've been looking at, I think a majority of them are in district.
Yeah, last time we looked at it was probably a year and a half ago, and I think about 75 to 80% of our youth program folks were in district.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thanks, Erin. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're done for a year. Maybe not, though, we'll see.
Okay, it looks like we have some old business to discuss, and it looks like Brandon has joined us to give us an update about occupancy of SRT.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's good to see everybody. I do see some familiar faces, which is nice. But I don't have a formal presentation, so I hope that's okay. I thought I could give you a brief update. I know some of this will be news for Skylar as well, so you'll have to bear with us here. But the update that I want to give you and the pertinent information is we have completed the documentation that's required for the occupancy change and are in process of submitting that to the building department. Admittedly, it's taken a little bit longer than originally anticipated, but only because we've ran into a few things in our in-depth code review. And I don't want to alarm anybody, but I do want to make the group aware. And I'm going to try to explain this in the easiest way possible. So, and stop me if you all have any questions. But imagine if you were trying to build the facility brand new and recreate exactly what you have today, just in a different location in town. And if you did that, executing the same exact design, the way it's laid out, the way the building is protected from a fire suppression, fire alarm standpoint, you would be told that the building is actually oversized and over what we call its allowable area. Scott, I don't know if I saw you laugh there.
Yeah, I'm laughing. Yeah, that's funny. It's too big.
Yeah, it's too big. And it's too big by about 18%, okay? It's a single-story building that is what we call a mixed-use separated building. So you have all these different uses that have different allowable areas based on it being a single story and based on the fact that it does have a fire suppression system. Now, this does cause an issue. You know, we did talk to the building department in our research initially and conveyed to them that, hey, we're not increasing the size of this building, nor are we raising it. You know, we're not making it any taller or adding another story. And that is obviously still maintained, but in our documentation, we have to show them if the building is compliant with current code. So of course, if you can imagine, they're going to read our code description and go, it does not comply with the allowable area, and it's over allowable area by about 18%. Now, I don't think this is a big deal. And again, I just want to make you aware, but our approach to this and what we've done in the past is we go back to the code in which the building was built under. So the building was done under the 1991 code, and when you run the calculations in the 1991 code, the building is actually undersized, and undersized by like 40%. And so it's funny, in 1991 you could build this gigantic school and have it, you know, completely unprotected and not separated, but we've had a lot of learning lessons since 91, and now they're a little bit more restrictive. And so in our code summary, what we do in this scenario is we show, yeah, under current code, you know, you're over allowable area, but based on the fact that this building was built at a certain time in a different code and under that allowable area at that time, and we're not increasing it, we should still be able to maintain the facility. And 95% of the time, it's a non-issue. Since this will be news to the building department, and I believe we have a new building official. I don't know if they have a new one or if it's still interim, but Bob Mitchell's retired, you know, since our last conversation. It's something that we'll have to talk them through. And so in our application to them, I've completed a nice narrative that explains the situation. It's very well outlined in our code summary. I anticipate a conversation needs to be had, but we'll walk them through that. And so with that, I mean, that's really the gist of the update for you all. We're submitting this via mail to the building department, so they should be receiving it before the end of the week. And I will follow up with them to schedule any kind of discussion that they may want to have as a part of their initial intake. So that's the update with regards to the occupancy change. The other piece of our scope of work is helping to make sure we've resolved any issues that the fire marshal's office may have with some work that was done about a year ago with regards to the fire alarm. I've been working with that service provider there locally, and they've assured me that they've been in communication with the fire department and have had multiple rounds of communication, and issues are resolved. I'm slowly receiving that correspondence. And of course, with our new application going in, the fire marshal will be looking at this occupancy change. So we're in process in making sure that they've got everything, they understand what you all are doing and planning on doing with the building, and I don't anticipate any issues there. And that's really the gist of it. So, any questions on your all's end, or any comments or concerns?
I appreciate the update. I don't really have any more concerns than you do at this point. We are hopeful to achieve this occupancy or temporary certificate of occupancy, as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Use the whole building.
Now, the next steps once the building department receives the application and deems the application complete, because they always take a little bit of time to make sure that our documentation is thorough, and it will be. If they find something inadequate, we're ready to respond immediately. But what I want to do is then request the TCO, the temporary certificate of occupancy, just to kind of get everyone's stress levels down, if you will. And then while they run through the review of the application, that should put you guys in a very good position. I don't know at this point how long it'll take the building department to review the application. Once they receive it, we get in the queue, and then I'll start asking those questions. What's an ETA? What can we expect? And then be able to relate back those timelines and timeframes.
Yeah, and Brandon, maybe I can jump in. I think I've had regular communication interaction with the city manager, and kind of shared our process. And Brandon shared an update with the city manager as well via email, which was great. I am suspecting that this will move quickly once our materials are submitted, because I know this is not just a priority for us, but it's a priority for the building department and for the fire marshal, fire department in the city to help us move this along as quickly as possible. And I think we'll be able to get some information back from them as soon as they can get it to us.
Yep. And Skylar, once I'm in the process of getting the drawings sealed, stamped and signed. Once that happens, I'll send you a digital copy for your records. And then, if you have any questions with that, we can follow up. But in terms of the scope of work improvements that are going to be needed, it really hasn't changed at all. So.
Okay. And I guess to the board, I will share, and Brandon probably knows this, but we've had regular interaction as a team with Brandon, but also with some folks from the Klosh group, and they're helping us move along so that when we get to the okay, now we can actually do some of this work that's needed, we'll be ready to go. And I think everything can move pretty quickly once we get the approval. So I know it's been a long time coming, but I feel like we're right, 90% all the way up the hill, and hopefully we can see the top, and we're cresting, and then we can not necessarily coast, but we'll have a smoother ride down to the bottom after that.
Yeah, agreed. And Klosh Group is amazing. I've had regular meetings with them, just updating them with where we're at, and I have another meeting with them next week. Again, just in an attempt to kind of make sure they're up to speed with our status and lines of communication are open. So you're in good hands on that front.
Do you have questions? So many? No?
Oh, I'm just smiling at the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It's too big, it's too small, and it's like, why didn't they grandfather it in because of the age of the building from the beginning?
Well, that's what this will do, essentially. Right. And again, with the work and the way you're using it, I find it really, it's almost comical. But I think we'll get over that hurdle, and that grandfathering, as you say, will be in place. Now, if you go to expand the building or do any kind of improvements, we would have to take a different approach. And that approach would be creating, firewalls and separations between any new work that you do. But if you were to do that and go down that line, that's easily achievable, and just a different process.
Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate you
Thank you
being
for the
here.
update.
Yes, no, thank you for having me, and again, I look forward to getting this in and helping get to a resolution, so.
I do have one question. How long has this stall or whatever, how long has that been going on? Is that like just a month or 2 months or?
In terms of the process our work that we've been doing?
No, this too big, too small concept.
The code, so again, this is a 91 code that the building was constructed under. We've had probably a dozen code changes since then. So I couldn't really tell you when a change would have occurred that would have made the building non-conforming. But my suspect is that it's been okay for some time. And you really wouldn't know that until you tried to do some sort of improvement that obviously increased the size or height of the building.
Well, actually, my question was more, how many months has this delayed us?
Oh, it hasn't delayed you any, in terms of it being oversized, it hasn't. It took us a little bit longer to do the research on the 91 code and modify the documents to address that. That probably added in our time about, an extra week. I think what I had projected, at the last board meeting that I was part of, that it would take us 2 to 3 weeks to get the documentation done, and we're right at about 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I will talk to you all maybe in a month.
Great.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay, Skylar, I think is the Broadway field update coming from you?
Yes, it is. When I put this on the agenda, I had hoped that maybe there would be more to talk about, but as you probably heard, the school district again went to City Council on the 12th of September and to share their proposal for reconfiguring Broadway Field, and obviously impacts some SEPRD property and heavily impacts their preferred layout, heavily impacts the Hirsch Family Training Facility, the batting cage facility. The City Council requested the school district to do some additional public outreach and stakeholder work, I guess, to put it that way, before they would approve that reconfiguration. And so the plan is kind of, I wouldn't say it's stalled, but it's sort of not moving as fast as I think we had hoped for. But I do want to share a couple of dates with you. On October 12th, the school district is going to host a, what are they calling it, an outreach or a forum, actually in the SRC library, to share their plans or the proposed plans for the reconfiguration. And that will include a site walk, hopefully if the weather permits, to show folks exactly where the softball field will be laid out. And I think we are going to work with them to try to provide as much access to that opportunity as possible and share in the marketing efforts for it, because that was one of the pieces of feedback that they received from council, was that more people need to be heard on this topic. And then they tentatively planned on going back to council, City Council, on November 14th to request the change in configuration. And I will say, obviously, this has been a long time, and we're still kind of waiting on this to fall into place before we can, renegotiate the intergovernmental agreement and things like that. I also think there's lots of questions that we have, and we've discussed before, about how this impacts our part of the property. One of the big questions that we've tried to work through with the city is who actually owns the building, the Hirsch Family Training Facility. If you'll remember, the district signed an intergovernmental agreement between the city and Seaside Kids, actually, and the Park and Rec District. And so the city owns the land, but the district is responsible for the building. But there's some question legally about who actually owns the building, who has the authority basically to say, yeah, you can move that building, it's fine by us, or not. So kind of working through those challenges with the city and the school district and the city attorney. Happy to take questions if you have them, but I'm sure you're all updated on this. And I know the school district is doing some work right now to provide some reassurances to the stakeholders and get more public feedback. It's obviously been a long process, but I think we're moving towards a solution. There's also, I should share, maybe folks know about it, but there's an additional site that's been proposed. I don't know how the city council feels about it, but the reconfigured, this proposed site reconfigures the softball field to actually be moved to where the playgrounds are and the picnic structure. What do you call that? Yeah. I don't know, what do you call it? Picnic structure? Yeah.
Gazebo.
The gazebo, yeah, where the playgrounds and gazebo are near the river. and move the playgrounds and gazebo over to the lot near the SRC. And doing so, if that plan were to work out, I think the benefit to that plan is that we wouldn't need to move the Hearst Family Training Facility because there would be enough room potentially on that site. There's some drawbacks to that plan, obviously, involving the construction and things like that, as well as the fact that softball and baseball games couldn't coexist at the same time, which I think is one of the goals that the school district is hoping to accomplish. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. I can send, the proposal that they've presented at City Council. They shared it with me, but I think I've tried to keep you informed, and this has been a hot topic in our community, but just wanted to share an update here. Any questions?
Where's the gazebo?
Hang on, Mike, one sec. The gazebo, it's over on the playgrounds by the river, there's that picnic structure where folks gather for barbecue.
Oh, my gosh.
The covered, yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah. They want to take that?
Well, that's one of the other sites, the way they've thrown that out as an alternative to the other site because it wouldn't require moving the facility.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was able to see a recent article in the Signal that showed Susan Penrod had made a presentation to the school board, and the plan that I saw in the paper showed a possible configuration toward the east end of Broadway Field, as you're discussing with the gazebo and all this stuff. But it doesn't seem like we can do much unless the school district makes a decision about what they want. How will the city be able to make a decision?
Yeah, I think, I guess from my perspective, the school district, their preference is to move the Hearst Family Training Facility and build the softball field in that part of the property. I think this alternative site was proposed because there was some current concerns brought up, both from the community, folks in the community, as well as city councilors that didn't want the facility moved or didn't feel like that was a good use of resources, I guess. So that's why they laid out this other potential option. But I think, at least in my conversations with the school district, their preferred configuration is to move the facility as proposed and build the softball field in that part of the park.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough, my understanding was that the state and the school athletic people could approve the softball field there without moving the Hearst facility if they would allow a smaller right field. Is that still a possibility? Have they asked for that?
Yeah, that's
with the green wall there.
Yeah, they have to build a field. Well, I think it's their preference, and it makes sense to build a field that complies with the OSAA standards. And the minimum length for a softball field, I think, is like 160 or 180 feet, and they're about 20 to 30 feet short. Even, they could use the side of the building as the wall, but that doesn't comply with the standards of OSAA. So I think they would be limited in some ways in their ability to host like playoff games and things like that. The field would be significantly smaller, and so their preference is to move it. And I think there's concerns that if they had a smaller field, that they would be in Title IX jeopardy of not being in compliance because it's not fair in some ways to have a baseball field that's regulation and a softball field that's not.
Well, I've shaken my head more than once about having to move that Hearst Family Training Facility, but keeping the softball field on that end, it would seem like it would be more useful and more proximal to potential locker rooms and showers.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some benefit. Obviously, I think our position is we wish that they didn't have to move the facility, but it's kind of the position that we're in, and it's hard to go back and redo history. So if we can figure out a way to do it and put it back together as nicely as it was constructed, and move efficiently through this process, I think it makes a lot more sense for the future of the fields to have it in that part. I think that's kind of the district's position, but sort of out of our hands as far as the decision will go. Seems like it's going to come from the city and from the city council.
Do you think, well, it seems to be a good time to consider resurfacing the whole Broadway field when this change is made, one way or the other?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we've been including that part of this in our discussions, and I think at least all the three parties in the intergovernmental agreement are on board with that. As soon as we get this solution, that I'm hopeful that will be part of the reconfiguration and construction project and timeline.
So where does this November date put us for complying with the legal rules of having this ready to go?
Yeah, that's probably a question better for the school district. I mean, they're the ones that are working with the Office of Civil Rights. But I think they have, the original timeline for their piece of the project was to have this completed by June of 2023. And I think there is opportunities from what I've gathered, there may be opportunities for them to ask or request an extension on that. And so long as I think they have a plan and they're making progress, I think that they feel or have expressed confidence and ability to get an extension. What I will say is that the timeline was already very tight that they had proposed, and now it's even tighter. Their hope was to start construction, as soon as they could after the spring 2023 baseball softball season was over. So probably mid-May sometime, and work all summer on the parts of this project, which include moving the facility potentially and constructing this new field and resurfacing all of the turf or the old turf, and be done by the middle of August so that their football and soccer seasons could occur as they have in the past. So it's a pretty tight timeline. They seem to have some confidence that they can make that work, and I think we're at this point, we're not players in investing our resources into figuring out if that's realistic or not. But I know they're going to do their best once they get the green light to move as quickly as they can. Celeste, Mike, any other questions?
No more questions.
Nope.
Okay.
None on our end.
I'm good, thank you.
All right.
All right, so that moves us on to new business.
Yes.
We have a board vacancy, process and timeline to discuss.
Yes, so I'd hope to have something in the packet about this, but I don't think I wasn't able to get it done, and I apologize for that. But essentially, obviously, with Erica's resignation, Catherine and I worked together and chatted about this, and she said that it was okay for us to wait until this meeting to kind of talk about our process for filling that vacancy. And she agreed with me that it was okay to follow a similar process that the district has in the past. We've had, grown accustomed to filling vacancies, but we've had great continuity for the last couple of years. But what we would like to do, or what I would like to propose and get a board vote on, is that we'll post the vacancy with the Daily Astorian, Seaside Signal, on our website, social media, and any other channels that the board would like us to post it, and accept a letter of interest for a period of time, probably about 2 weeks from the time of posting. And what we did in the past was say that we wanted, something formal acknowledging interest in the position. That can be an email or a regular letter, and saying that we encourage resumes or experience, some criteria of your experiences that might show best fit, and then selecting a date with the three of you and working with Catherine to do some interviews before our October meeting. Assuming that we'll have more than one candidate, I think it's good to get to know those folks and have an opportunity to visit with them. And the board can direct staff on the questions that they'd like to see asked. But then filling that vacancy officially at the October meeting. And I have had a number of folks that have expressed, informal or informal interest in the vacancy or requested information about our timeline. So I do think there's a handful of folks that will be interested in filling that role. Sue?
Can I just clarify, in this letter, October 17th and 23rd, the 23rd is a Sunday.
Oh, it is in the packet. Sorry, it was on the back. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the dates really are, because
23rd is a Sunday?
October,
Oh, man.
my thing says so.
I'm going to trust you. Yeah, you're right.
And then the 17th is a Monday.
Yeah, I think I was selecting different dates than our normal Tuesday nights just because maybe, but yeah, I didn't mean Sunday. I think I meant the 24th probably. So, but anyways, we can do those interviews whenever you guys would like. That's not, I think, the crucial part. I guess the crucial part is that you agree with this timeline. If there's places you want me to post or folks that you want me to reach out to directly about the opportunity, and then are we okay with moving kind of at a pretty brisk pace so that we can have our new director sworn in at the October meeting? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm okay. Quick timeline, I'd like to see us have a full vote, or a full bench. So I like the idea of a quick timeline. I would be interested in contributing, to the scoring matrix, or however we are going to be deciding. And I would like, if it's possible, to have you, Skylar, circulate those questions so that then we can provide some feedback on those questions to make sure we're asking things that help us determine who's going to round our team out well.
Sounds good.
And for me, I'm just going to say, since I've decided to try to be a thespian here, if the earlier we could do, at 5 o'clock, I'm down in Cannon Beach on Mondays, and Tuesdays, 6 o'clock, Wednesdays, 6 o'clock. So, if we could do it fairly early, but I need to be in those locations.
So if we post the vacancy by the end of this week, then I think we could do interviews anytime the week of October 17th through the 21st. And we could do those, honestly, we can do those interviews virtually. It'll be a board workshop, and so the public would be invited to attend. There wouldn't be public comment, but it would be open for anybody because you all would be doing board business. It's a public meeting, so, but they could be scheduled, like I said, anytime that week, and that would give us, after the meeting, or after those interviews were concluded, you would have time to discuss in workshop fashion how you felt, and then we could let the candidates know where they stood, and then take official action at the October meeting on the 25th.
So Skylar, I'll offer up, not that this should be, to make a huge difference, but I am actually in Scottsdale for a work staff retreat, and will be occupied entirely Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay.
I would have availability Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
But I'm also happy to play a different type of role in providing feedback via resume feedback and so forth.
Sure.
I can skip choir.
What time, or what day or time would work for you if we were to do it that week?
My Mondays, I have to be in Cannon Beach at 5 o'clock, or 5:30, so I'd have to leave at 5.
Okay.
So I'm here anytime before that.
Okay.
But and then Tuesday, I mean, it sounds like Tuesday and Wednesday are out. We're talking about the week of the 17th through the 21st?
That was, yeah, and it could be,
You know, on the 20th, I mean, it's a Thursday, I would sacrifice choir for that. You know, I would be available at any time that day on Thursday.
does the 20th work for you, Celeste and Mike? If we were to do it at like, just pencil it in for maybe 5 o'clock or 4:30?
Yeah, thanks for the flexibility too. That does work for me.
Mike, how
I
about
will
you?
try to get back by October 8th.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, we could do it virtually. I think that would work fine, if, you know, especially if folks are on the road, and sometimes that reduces a barrier. So let's plan on the 20th at maybe 4:30 p.m. And it'll depend on how many candidates we get, obviously, how long those go, but hopefully we can make efficient work of the process.
And 4:30 is the time that works for Catherine with school?
I think so. She usually gets off around 4 and comes to get her kiddos around then. She may, yeah, it may end up being 5, but we'll plan on 4:30 and I'll let you know. Okay, I will send out questions, but look for some notice on this to be out, and if you have anybody that you'd like to share it with, please do so. I think, yeah, it's great. I certainly miss Erica, but I'd like to fill her role with somebody great and wonderful to keep up the good work she was doing. I don't have anything else on that topic, unless there's other questions.
Great. Thanks for forwarding us on that, Skylar.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So next up, the youth center.
Yeah, so it seems like we've had lots of stuff happening with our buildings and our facilities. This isn't bad news at all. We have a lease agreement or an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Seaside to use the youth center, and we have been using it since it was constructed and since, I don't know, like 93, 94, somewhere around there. And it was the home for our youth programs for a long time, for fitness classes, probably for lots of other things throughout the district history. But when we acquired the middle school, we relocated our youth programs to that building. And obviously, you heard from Aaron, we're doing great there. We made the decision to sort of make the youth center an administrative office for our directors. So we have Darren and Justin and Levi have office space there, as well as Tina, our HR coordinator, and there's a couple other staff, including our maintenance coordinator, Courtney, and our IT, can't remember Isaiah's title, sorry.
Network admin.
Our network admin, Isaiah, have offices there. We have a conference room that's available for staff training and such. But we've gotten approval from the city to keep using the building, even though it's not the home of our youth programs anymore. And they've also given us approval to make a change with the entrance to the building. As you probably know, if you've been over in that area, the youth center is conjoined. It's connected to the pool building. What'd you say?
Conjoined.
Conjoined. Maybe that's the right word. Yeah, sorry. It's connected, conjoined to the pool building, but the entrance is separate. And what we're proposing is to keep the entrance of the youth center, but make it so that folks that want to go into the youth center, and we've are probably going to try to find a new name for the youth center so that it's more appropriate, because we don't have youth activities over there, but they'll enter through the main door of the pool and kind of check in at the front desk, and then they'll be able to proceed through a hallway that's pretty much already there to the youth center. We have some money budgeted for this purpose in the hopes that approval would be given, and we also received a grant from Special Districts about a year or 18 months ago for making this improvement. It's really a security improvement. Right now, the more doors and entry points and exit points you have, the harder it is to really monitor who's coming in and who's coming out. And this will kind of make the access a lot more secure and give more visibility to the folks that need to come in and speak with the executive team members or are there for a job interview, those types of things. And so again, we've gotten permission from the city, but I wanted to bring it to the district board for visibility. I think the project is probably around $10,000 to $12,000 in just repurposing what is a large window and a framed-in wall with a framed-in door and a heavy security type door that will kind of, help us with the stuff I already discussed. So happy to show you kind of what we're talking about if you want to come by, but just wanted, again, to bring that to the board for visibility, and if you have questions, happy to help. But again, the building is serving an important role for us now. I'm not sure what the future of the building is. I think that's one of the things we're hoping to maybe get some more direction on from the master planning process, if it's beneficial for us to keep it. But for now, the city has agreed to let us continue using it. And again, I think it's been a great improvement. Prior to the directors moving there, they were kind of all over the place. Darren was obviously over here in an ill-suited office, and Justin had his office in the pool, and that wasn't very beneficial for a lot of his duties and the conversations he needed to have. And then our maintenance office was kind of spread out and near a washer and a dryer and a restroom that staff used. And so this is, I think, brought a greater cohesion to that group of staff. And I think this facility improvement will only improve that outcome further.
Skylar, you said that the project has been approved. Does that mean the city has approved that you could go ahead with that? It's been permitted. Is there some fire safety issues that need to be amended?
Yes. So great question, Mike. So what I meant by the approval was that the city hall, city manager, and city council has approved us to continue using the building and to make this change. They have also shared that, we'll need to go through the permitting process and working with the fire marshal, and Levi and our maintenance team have already had those conversations. So there'll be some documentation and permitting, but that would happen before we begin construction. Yeah, great question.
I, for one, think it's a great idea because I have actually done that where I've gone right across and then come inside and nobody knows I'm coming.
Yeah.
And having worked in a hospital and, where security is more and more, over the years has become more of an issue, I've thought the same thing, that everyone's kind of unaware of who's walking in the door. And so while I'm not a threat, just let the questions.
Yeah.
I think it behooves us to take action to be safe, safer opportunity. And I agree, it's nice to have everyone with space so that, that just improves job satisfaction, customer satisfaction. You're not going to find Levi in the back corner, and all that. So I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
And we can just call it the annex.
Yeah, internally we call it the west wing because it's on the west side of the pool, but that name hasn't stuck with everybody quite yet. Seems me included. It's a moniker, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's forever.
So I agree with Sue. I think it seems like a smart idea, security-wise, and also for staff satisfaction-wise. So all of that makes sense to me. I guess my only question is, and it's not really a question, I'm just curious about how you're managing, how is it managing? There's a lot of sort of facilities projects going on, and whether, what's that do to our bandwidth to attend to all of the different needs that are going on, because I'm recognizing that there's probably some facility needs that are being brought on by these new grants I'm just concerned about, how that's working for our team.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, I think, I entrust our maintenance team, our, director Levi with, a lot of that kind of timelining out projects. And he shared a potential timeline with me for this. So yeah, they've been working on a few things of late with, infant toddler child care program. There's some boiler repairs that they've made at the SRC, and a couple of other projects. There's always lots of things going on for them. We have shutdown coming up, which I'll share a little bit about, and their projects for that. But I think their hope is to but kind of finalize the permitting process with the city after this meeting, and then complete this project after shutdown, but before the end of the calendar year. And they shared that that's pretty realistic. I think they have a good lead on ordering what they need to order, which is basically just this large, secure door, and the other items that they need. I think they can get. So, kind of timelining it out. It's probably not going to be something that's done in the next week or two, but will hopefully be done in the next, 3 months.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
And thanks for the visibility for that, Skylar, for that piece of work.
Yeah, no problem. I think it'll be a great improvement. Like Sue said, it'll provide folks with the opportunity to get to, some of our key staff members that have answers to the questions that, need asked. And, Darren and Levi and Justin, for one, are really smart. They know what's going on. And if we can get folks some access to them to get their questions answered, I think that benefits the public and benefits the district.
Great.
All right.
So we're moving on, it looks like the SEAO legislative action, or is that you again, Skylar, or are we turning it over to Kathy?
So I think if I had to guess, Kathy, I know she has, I think she still does serve on the SEAO board, and this is an important topic for her, probably near and dear to her heart because of that role, and also she's an employee of Sunset Empire Transit District, so this is probably something they've taken up as well. And Kathy, feel free to step in if you'd like, but basically I think I laid it out kind of in the memo. This policy, if adopted, would give staff the autonomy to respond to a call to legislative action in a timely fashion. Obviously, there's best case scenario, which is it gets to come to the board and we have a couple months to decipher and sort of tweak our messaging. But then there's other times where, Frank Stratton, the executive director of SDAO, says, hey, I really need some legislative support. I need you to contact your legislators or this entity and let your voice be heard. And some special districts, including ours, have felt a little bit confined because we want to make sure that we have board approval to execute those messages and to share something on behalf of the district because, my thoughts and perspective might be different than our elected officials. So this would give us some, flexibility to take action and contact legislators if needed. And it also provides a structure so that I'm not going to step out farther than the policy permits me to and take action on something that's not favored by special districts or approved by special districts for us to work on. And in my experience, just working with the Special Districts Association as well as Oregon Recreation and Park Association, closely being on their board, special districts always has their ear to the ground in terms of what we need to do, what we need to be advocating for special districts. And I honestly think that they're really well respected in the state. The outcome of the ARPA funds is I think has been a little disappointing. And if I'm assuming the board about those funds, but there's just a tremendous amount of resources that were made available, and literally or almost none of those funds went to special districts, despite the great service that we provide in communities across the state, including rural. rural communities, and you think of all the different types of special districts, fire districts, water districts, transit districts, park and rec districts, and what we could have used some of those funds for. I know Clatsop County received $7 million, and they're doing good things with those funds. It's not to take anything away from them, but I think there's opportunities for us to be a louder voice as a unit, as special districts across the state, and to hopefully impact legislators in the way that they allocate some of those funding streams that come available over time. So the policy is really not my words, and neither is, for the most part, the preface. It's exactly what special districts recommended, and I think, again, if you have questions, I can try to answer them, or Kathy might be a great resource, but hoping that the board can help us take action so that next time something like this comes up, staff can move swiftly and let our voice be heard.
I've read over this policy, and it's pretty darn clear, and I recommend that we move to adopt this policy, resolution number 2022:09.
So I apologize. I am reviewing this. I did not review this piece in advance. So I do have some questions.
Sure.
I agree with Mike that we need to adopt it, but Celeste.
So if you want to, you're free to second, of course, Sue, but then if we move to a vote.
No, I think that you need to ask
Okay.
the question.
Okay. So in summary, as I'm looking at this quickly, about this, I think the piece that I am curious. So I do a lot of policy work in my day job, and so this is part of where I'm having some hesitation about having us as board members and our duty to be able to be informed about what the district is supporting, and that helps us mitigate risk for the district. So I'm thinking about that, and so as I'm reading through this, I'm wondering what supports, what is in this piece that would help make sure that board members have a way to intervene if something were to come up that, for instance, raised a red flag for our district or for the citizens that we represent.
Yeah, great question. So I think if you look in the second page, there's a handful, 7 of the procedures, and in my mind, as I was working through this and reading it a couple of times, a lot of those procedures are there to help make sure that there's either visibility or input from the board, and it's not, the way I'm interpreting this policy, Celeste, is not to take away that visibility from the board of directors, but to provide an avenue for the executive director and board president or a designee of the board's choice to work together quickly to advocate on behalf of the district, the special district, us, or on behalf of special districts. So there's a couple of notes in there that says basically kind of how that visibility piece would work, or how that relationship might work best. And I think that the suggestions, if we were to adhere to these, I think they're adequate, but I would also think this policy can be adapted, and we could, insert something more structured. What we can't do is I can't put it out to the board and say, I need a vote on this, by email, basically.
No,
right? So it's sort of, I think it's beneficial for the board to maybe think about who's an appropriate legislative designee, and that is the person maybe that would have some authority to act on behalf of the board with me to say, yes, this looks fine, go ahead. And that could be done in a quick manner, and then that individual or me could report back to the board at the next public meeting or the next opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm also aware of the need on when legislation is taking place or if advocacy is needed, often it's very quick, right? You need action this weekend or you can't wait.
Yeah.
And so I recognize that, the need for that, and I'm wondering, and I don't know if SDAO, if the rules would allow this. This is what I'm wondering is about public meeting rules and whether or not this would be allowed. But for our organization, for Foster Club, what we do actually is we assume that staff have the ability to move forward on advocacy positions that are congruent with the organization, but they provide visibility to that to board members with a 24 or 48-hour notice, so that any board member can call and put a halt to moving forward. So it's more of an assumption, just like it's written here, that it's okay to move forward, but that notice, so the way that looks in real life is that my staff actually develops a summary. We issue that out with my intent, and I notice the board of my intent to sign on to legislation or to move in support of the legislation. And the board doesn't take a vote. They just know that that is our intent to move forward. And anybody at any time then could intervene and say, hold up, the board needs some time to discuss this. I will say, in the 5 years we've been operating that way, we've never had that happen because our staff is in step with what our board believes. But I think there's some sort of oversight issues that I'd be concerned with sort of handing that over completely.
Yeah. I know Kathy raised her hand. Kathy, you want to share something?
Yes, thank you, Skylar.
Yeah.
And I just want to select your concern is well-founded. And I will just, a little bit of background on this. And the ARPA funds is a really great example of when this came up. And I sent out lots of emails to districts asking for letters of support. And the letters of support were not for specific funds to go to specific places, just for the recognition that special districts are an entity unto themselves that needed to be recognized. And so these are issues that are overarching special district issues, so it's not going to be where you as a park district are going to be asked to advocate for any one particular type of district or funding stream or anything like that to go to anybody, one particular group or organization. This is overarching issues that would affect all special districts in Oregon and potentially all special districts nationwide, that type of thing. And so that's where this call to action comes in and becomes important. And when the ARPA funds became available, League of Oregon Cities, Association of Counties, overwhelmed their representatives with saying, yes, we need these funds. And so then special districts are kind of left on the side, who are they? They don't even have a voice. They didn't even, they don't show up on the radar. And these were the things that they have in place to be able to voice their opinions and get their, support behind these things right away. And so, from that perspective, that's where this call to action came out, is to authorize general advocacy types of issues. And as far as specific, Oregon advocacy issues, the special district has a legislative committee that meets regularly and vets requests ahead of time before they get moved forward to be advocated for by special districts. And again, the main qualification there is, will this benefit all special districts? This can't be, libraries or a water district goes and wants special districts to spend money on a lobbyist to push an issue forward, and it doesn't benefit everybody. It doesn't have a ripple effect that will then benefit all special districts. So I know that Sunset Empire Transportation District also had this on their agenda and is also looking at it, and much like what Skylar is saying, is that they chose their board chair as their legislative person. So the executive director, before signing anything, will at least have a conversation with that board chair, assuming that board chair is available to be able to say, yes, go ahead, and then at the next following meeting, they then report on, this is the letter of advocacy that we sent out, that we signed.
Yeah, I'm having trouble even imagining what would be controversial, I'm just having difficulty imagining what would be controversial in this space, but I don't know legislation in this space.
And I will say at this point, it's really just getting people to realize that special districts are a government entity that doesn't sit under counties or under cities. They don't receive their authority from a county or a city. They have their own elected bodies that have authority that sits equal to and even to counties and cities, not under.
Yeah, I'm certainly in favor of having a better structure in place to be able to pivot in situations where it's called for. So don't get me wrong, I'm completely in favor of that. What I'm looking for is some sort of more real-time process of notification to board members so that if something were to be at all controversial, we would have time to put the brakes on and bring it up for discussion.
Sure, and like I said, I think that your concerns are not unfounded, and I think that the framework, the guidelines are pretty, they were vetted by their attorneys and taken from one perspective, so I appreciate your concerns. I am also not sure if your process would fall into violating public meetings laws, and so I don't.
That's right either.
Yeah, because taking it, putting it in front of everybody and allowing everybody to give feedback, all of a sudden you've just potentially had a meeting. So
yeah, I think you could be right. That's what I was concerned about, is whether or not that would constitute a public meeting. So I don't have. Thank you for talking that out.
Sure.
About public meeting limitation, if you will. That I think probably this is the next best way to go is to have somebody designated on the board to be the legislative liaison or whatever we call that person.
Thanks. I'm here if you have any other questions.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy.
Any other questions? I know we have a motion on the table.
Well, I want to clarify something. Public meetings, like if I was the liaison and you come to me, there's just two of us talking. So it's not a public meeting.
I mean, I don't count.
That's fine.
So as long as the board designates you to be this legislative liaison and gives you the authority to say, kind of sign off that you acknowledge this is action approved, then it's permissible.
I'm struck by the fact that you said you don't count.
I don't count as a board member. I don't have a vote. I'm not in the same category as you all. So I think that power, that permission needs to be explicit in the motion if it is going to be approved. And I think, Celeste's points are great. Unfortunately, I don't want to circumvent the public meeting law, but yeah, the navigating that part of it is important. I guess from my position, Celeste and Kathy kind of alluded to this, I'm not sure if I can imagine another scenario playing out where it would need to be timely, unless there was another thing like ARPA that came about. Most of the time, it seems like we have enough, at least in my conversations and interaction with the ORPA Legislative Committee, they usually give us, months to submit some feedback or correspondence to legislative committees or legislators directly. And I'm thinking about the Recreational Immunity Act from a couple of years ago. That was something that we submitted something about, and there's been a couple of other ones, but we honestly had a lot of time. And I think in those instances, I think this policy wouldn't necessarily need to be implemented, because I could work with the board directly in a public meeting to submit feedback or correspondence that was met with approval by the whole board. But again, and part of this might just be SDAO's way of initiating us to have a heightened awareness of our need to advocate for this type of opportunity should it happen again, because honestly, I think I was caught a little flat-footed, and I know some of my colleagues, at least in Park and Rec districts, were as well. And then seeing the report that Frank Stratton gave about the funds that were available and how few of them went to special districts, it was pretty staggering, and honestly just a little sad that maybe we just needed to advocate louder and we would have had access, because, yeah, it would have been really cool if maybe SEPRD and Sunset Empire Transit split, you know, $500,000 or something. I'm just throwing that out hypothetically, how we could have used those funds in a really neat way, like some of our counterparts with the city or county are doing.
Yeah. Agreed. So we have a motion on the table to accept this policy. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Mike?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
I'm an aye. So motion passes.
Great. Thank you all.
Now, does this mean Catherine is, since she's not here, she's the liaison?
Oh, you could designate her. I think Catherine probably has her hands full, but yeah, if you wanna designate Catherine since she's not here, you could designate your soon to come appointed board member. This is one of your duties, new board member. So we can work through that in the future if you'd like, or you can designate somebody now.
Can we add that as an agenda item for next, our next board meeting to designate that person?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Just give everyone time to think about it.
And is the money that went away, is it gone?
It's gone. It's already been distributed to cities and counties, yeah.
There's no, like, back door?
Well, I mean,
You forgot us.
to be fair or frank, I think there is a way that cities or counties could pass some of that money on to special districts. I don't think that's in the works for our local county or city. I mean, I think they're doing things with those funds that maybe will benefit our residents or help us. For instance, Clatsop County designated a portion of their funds to start this Clatsop County Child Care Network, and out of that stemmed a lot of really great interactions, and that's where we received some recent grant funds for infant and toddler child care. They packaged those funds with some funds from Providence and from CMH to help provide that. So I'm not saying they're not doing good things with it. I don't know what exactly else they're doing with their funds, but yeah, they could share with us if they wanted. I think we'll accept it.
Madam President, I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of conducting deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions pursuant to ORS 192.6601E.
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Mike?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
I'm an aye. We'll enter executive session.
Yeah, I think we'll just be, if it's okay, Celeste, I think this can be a pretty brief 5 to 10 minute conversation.
Okay.
All
So
right.
we will schedule that to come back online at 10 after?
Yeah, sounds good.
10 after 7.
Kathy's left the public meeting, so the only other member is I included a update on the district goals and moved some things along over the past month. Really happy about the occupancy process. And again, I know we missed our date, but Brandon's been great to work with and a great communicator, and the process I think is really strong. Right now, we have submitted or put the RFP for the strategic plan, for the master plan process out, and we'll be collecting applications until October 7th. So that's moved along nicely. Happy to share that at our upcoming shutdown, we are going to be able to install our new aquatic features, the zip line and the climbing wall. So I think that's really promising. We're finally able to get approval from the Oregon Health Authority, who governs and sets policy for pools and how safe they are and that type of thing. So it took a little while. You got information last month from the operations team on our software. So everything else I think has moved along. You'll see the progress indicator, which isn't scientific, but is just my perspective, and most things I think are near the end of completion or close to, with the exception of the IGA for Broadway field, and just kind of held up a little bit right now by some of the other stuff. Don't need to share much on the strategic plan, that's item B, but want to make sure that you know that it's out and we're accepting applications. We haven't received any yet, but that's not uncommon. Typically agencies, a lot of folks, consultants wait until near the end of the application period. I want to share a little bit about our shutdown. I think you're aware of the dates, and you did hear some in public comment tonight about that we're not offering folks the opportunity to go to the Astoria pool. And I want to just provide some context for that. So the only time that we've actually done that as an option for members is when we were shut down for a significantly longer period of time than 2 weeks. Normally we do one to 2 week shutdowns. There was one year, I think, in my tenure with the district where we were shut down for, I think it was supposed to be 6 weeks, and it ended up being 8 weeks. And during that time, because of the length of the closure, we offered members the opportunity to go to Astoria or Nehalem, and the district would compensate or would pay for memberships to be continued, or we would extend the memberships of the member. And that's what we offered this time as well, not the Astoria or Nehalem option, but just the extension of the membership. If the board feels strongly that we should pay for members to have access at other pools, I think that's something that staff is willing to implement. It is a heavy administrative burden, but it's something that we can do again. We haven't received feedback from other patrons that they're frustrated with that, and I think by and large we have a significant amount of work that we're hoping to accomplish during the shutdown, and we've messaged that out already. We have signs up in the facility, and I think patrons will be pleased when they return back at the end of the closure. But again, if the board feels that we need to take other proactive measures to help meet our members' fitness needs, I think we're open to that. It's not a significant expense. I think when we did this before, just for your information, I want to say we have, I don't know, maybe 500 members or 400 members, somewhere around there, give or take, and only a handful, probably maybe 20 to 30, wanted the Astoria or Nehalem option. So it's a pretty small group, but we were able to work directly with those agencies and make sure that their membership could be extended. And then, go ahead, Celeste.
Tyler?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask for clarification. Did you say you have had a lot or have not had a lot of people inquiring about that?
We have not. In fact, tonight, I can't remember if it was Marty or John that suggested that was the first time I've heard about why aren't you doing this. And like I said, in the past, we've had a shutdown just about every year, with the exception, I think, of 1 year, the COVID. So that was 2020. We didn't do any shutdown, and we've only offered the membership options at elsewhere during that really long closure, 6 to 8 week closure. I want to say that was like 2017 or 18. when we did the locker room, renovation.
Mhm.
And then, just want to share, we have some really cool special events upcoming that I'm really, happy about. A new special event, we're partnering with, Consuelo Espanol to, have a Latinx Hispanic Heritage Night. That's by and large the efforts of our, EDI committee, an internal committee, but we've worked closely with Consuelo Espanol and have some, I think it's going to be really fun. We'll have food and music and dancing and vaccinations and all sorts of other things. Darren, let me know if I'm missing anything, because Darren's one of our chairs of the EDI committee, but a really good event. That's on Saturday the 8th from 3 to 9 p.m. at the SRC.
Your flyer says 4.
4 to 9.
Oh, sorry. 4 to 9 p.m.
Volunteers need to be there.
I wanted
I
you
love that effort. I love that effort. So bravo on that. And I love hearing that the EDI committee is taking up initiatives like that.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a really good partnership and fun to work with them. And yeah, I think we're hoping for a strong turnout and just greater access and including that population of our community. A couple weeks after that, we have our Fall Fun Fest on the 22nd, kind of a traditional Halloween activity. Posted the date for the board meeting, and our shutdown date is also included there. We'll shut down the weekend of Halloween and be closed for about 2 weeks. Yep. So, happy to hear comments or questions from the board, but want to be mindful of time and Mike's evening plans.
Well, that's okay. I forgot my dinner engagement. I'm sorry that we can't all be together today for this meeting. It would have been good. Appreciate the special event. A Latinx Hispanic community. I think it's great to have these kinds of activities. I think we need to do a lot of outreach to the Hispanic community. Certainly they have as many needs as anyone else. As far as, the hot tub goes and that goes, the spa has been kind of had sporadic operational issues. I know you cut back because of the chlorine at some point where we weren't using the jacuzzi, but that's one feature of the pool that I typically enjoy. I like a really hot one when I can get it, being an old hot tub builder. But I think we operate a safe, in the interest of safety, I think is real important. Just as a sidelight, I'm down here and I've been to a local private health club to use the jacuzzi, and they wanted on Sunday, they wanted $25 for me just to go and use the hot tub. So, what's in your wallet? It's like, that's kind of ridiculous. But normally I was told it was $15 just for a walk-in to use the pool or whatever. So, I think our fees are definitely in line with a lot of the private industry.
Yeah, and
thank you, Scott, for your good work. I love your socks.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah, in anticipation of some questions about the hot tub, I did get a memo from Levi. Just wanted to make sure I was well informed, so I can share part of that with you electronically, or if you'd like, I can kind of summarize it. But yeah, there has been a lot of issues with the hot tub. We had an electrical surge that contributed to the malfunction of the electrical panel. And then we had to order safety switches and 2 motors. That's what the hot tub needed. We were able to order the parts, but they were all back ordered, as everything basically in the aquatic world is right now. And then we also had this chemical feed malfunction, and that was coupled with the notice of chlorine shortage. So I think, at least in my recollection or my listening to the feedback tonight, I think a lot of the challenges that we've heard were kind of compressed into, or confused into issues that, it was sort of all lumped together. That's what it felt like, at least. But we have received the majority of the parts for the hot tubs and the jets and installed them. Their last remaining part is an electrical motor that powers the jet. That particular motor is engineered and sized for our specific body of water. So it's not something that we can, go buy off the shelf. It's specific to the size of the spa. The vendor has let us know that the motor is currently in production, but it hasn't been shipped yet. And the hope is that we'll receive the motor within the next month and have it installed and ready to go shortly thereafter. Again, we've set an internal goal of having the spa open when we reopen the pool on November 14th, if not sooner. Obviously, we'll do it sooner if we can. The notion that it's not a priority or that we don't have the right people, I think is just not accurate, and it's I guess from my perspective, it's not fair to the efforts of staff. And while we do view the spa as a frosting on the cake, that is the sunset pool and the lap pool, and we'd prefer to keep those bodies of water open over the spa, we're not prioritizing anything at this point. It's really the situation we're in as a result of parts being back ordered and shipping delays and manufacturing delays, and I think we're straight now on our chlorine supply, so that's good. But yeah, hoping that our patrons can be patient with us as we move forward.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
You won't hear any whining from this board member.
Yeah, super helpful to hear that update, Skylar, and thanks to the team for keeping on top of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that is frustrating to have a series of things that cause an outage, that maybe even more frustrating to have to clump all the reasons together. So, but thanks to your team for keeping on top of that, and I look forward to when it is operational and folks can enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks. I think we're on the board comment, unless there's other questions.
Okay.
Well, was that
Did
my
you have any
board
questions,
comment, or you want to do board
Yeah,
comment
Mike.
so you can leave?
Mike, did you have additional comments? It felt like some of what you said may have been partially your board comments. Do you have additional closing comments for board?
I don't really. I wish I was there. I'm going to try to get home by the 8th. I would love to go to that Latinx Hispanic gathering, and then we have a workshop or something we're trying to have, and so I'm hoping to get this tile job done and get out of here.
All right, thanks, Mike. Sue?
I would simply say thank you to Erin for the astounding work that she has done in the last year. I'm so very grateful. I appreciate Kathy tuning in to, give us some guidance for, a very important decision. I also appreciate the expertise that we have in our team at Sunset, Empire. I do wish that, we've had the opportunity for board comment, public comment every meeting, and no one has been here. And now, I appreciate that the one gentleman needed to leave early, and he did state so, but the other person left within 15 minutes. So we're here where we can speak to her concerns, and she's not here. And that is unfortunate. And so I do appreciate that every complaint is a gift. I've always felt that, but I do wish that it was a fair playing field to be able to respond to those concerns, so that those concerns can at least be addressed, or a meaningful dialogue can take place. And it is too bad to lump everything all together. I do appreciate the quality in as I said already, but I appreciate and I stand behind Levi with the skills that he puts forward. And I just think there needs to be a way for a conversation that can go forward and be remedied before it has to come before a public complaint. I think there's a better way to do it so that the concerns of our constituents are met and addressed rather than just talked at. So I am grateful for many things, and I'm glad this Latinx program, it falls on the same day as another event for the community that, you know, since it's not Sunset Empire, I won't bring it up, but it's just going to work in that you can start in the morning and do one thing and then come the afternoon and do something else, and that's very exciting. And how wonderful that we are as vibrant and alive as we are, and promoting good quality childcare and you know, play, as is our mission and our vision statements. And I appreciate that we continue to do that in every way, every day.
Thanks, Sue. Just, I'll do a quick close. Skylar, thank you for putting together a meeting that's, again, chock full of information. I appreciated hearing the updates and being kept up to date about progress on being able to fully occupy the new rec center and all of the other updates that we received. And also, I'm super excited about the progress of our child care program for Park and Rec. So thank you for efforts, and if you'll pass on the efforts of the board to your staff too for all of their work, I know we'd all appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So with that, I think this meeting is adjourned.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody.
Yay.
Bye, Mike. Bye, Celeste.
Bye.
Thanks.